Find me down in the meadow, under trees born hollow. Water glows in the shallows with the light we borrow.
All right, let's try that. Okay, hey, this is Carl for Carl's Opinion. Welcome to our Saturday Night Live call-in show, and got a lot of news to get to. We'll be joining soon here by the Great Dirtbag, who will be coming in via a video phone call. So as soon as we see him up there, we'll bring him on in. And in fact, let me get this one up here right now. Get him ready to go. Here we go. Boom. All right. So let's see. Let's change this over. Disable bet. Where's the Great Dirtbag? Title 16 and Title 11. Okay. 11. Looks like he's coming in right now. Hey, how you doing, Mr.
Hey,
Dirtbag?
what's up? What's up, Carl? How you
Not,
doing?
not much. Let me just get your title here. Let's see. So let's see.
Everybody see me okay?
Yeah, let me just get your let me get your title up so you're not disabled vet. Hold on, let me get your title up there. Okay, I'm gonna cut
Is he
us
joining
across.
us tonight?
I'm gonna cut us across right now.
Oh,
Boom.
okay.
All right. Okay. There's this the great dirtbag is not disabled vet, so we're gonna get his title up right now. So give me a second here. So let's see. It's number 16, and we're taking off number 11. So take off 11, replace it with 8 actually. So take off 11, replace it. All right. And
Now I can see the chat to a degree, but only when somebody pops up. I don't know. Sometimes I haven't updated my laptop yet, but I can see
okay.
the chat. I can still see the chat a little bit. But
Okay. Good.
what's up, Carl? How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Let's see. Let me get him off of here and put you in there. So hold on. Oh, there we go. And move this around. Position. There you go. All right, you're in, and you got the right name. Perfect. So yeah,
Awesome.
good seeing you tonight, and yeah, we got a lot of news to cover tonight, and we're talking gun control and stuff. Have you seen? I'm assuming you saw what Beto had to say about taking our guns away. That hell yes, he's going to
I
take them
did
away.
see. I saw Tim Pool cover it. I didn't see Beto say it, but I did listen to Tim Pool today talk about it. And Beto is, he's got nothing left. I mean, he's a failed candidate. He's a creation of the media. He's trying to latch on to whatever fame he has left, and it's like, it's almost like he's a puppet to try and drum up the progressive base. Is and with all this rhetoric of we're going to take the guns, we're going to force people to buy back guns. You know, the media hasn't even talked about that gun sales are going up, and they're going up again. This is like 2016 all over again. You know, I mean, I just Beto, if Beto had any sense, he'd stay out of the camera altogether. You know,
Right.
I just you know,
Well,
but
actually, it's funny because we've all been saying that for years. And hold on a second, let me get Bruce over here. Hold on, let me
oh,
get someone.
DM's in the chat. Hey, DM, what's up? Everybody, get over and check out the DMB report. They do an awesome job giving you up to date news, and very, very, both her and History B are very, very smart. They know a lot about what's going on.
Yeah, no, I mean everybody. I haven't been over there myself, and I apologize, but I heard it's a really good site and really good, good content and everything
Hmm.
else. So yeah, definitely need to check it out without a doubt.
I just, the funny thing, Carl, is because I work long hours, and it's, I love coming on your show, and it's very convenient because you're on at a perfect time for me to be able to come onto your show.
Right,
And
because your work
you know,
schedule and everything. Sure.
yeah, yeah.
No, well, I'm happy
But
about that. That's good.
oh yeah, yeah. But Carl, what's really funny is that it kind of makes you think about where some of these failed candidates, what they're going to be doing next, right? Like they're stars among the progressive base. You know, the progressive base literally worship the ground these clowns walk on. You know, the ground is these clowns walk on. Sorry,
Right.
and you know they're going to be useful idiots to help prop up whoever wins the primary, the Democrat primary. Um, and the funny thing, and one of the reasons why I've been talking about Tulsi Gabbard a lot lately is because she, you know, I am no fan of hers. I am no fan of hers because she wants our guns too.
Right.
But she's actually somebody I think that could bring some sanity back to the Democrat Party. Note that I say some sanity because she's starting to see that, you know, this ain't the direction the country wants to go. People don't want socialism. People don't want open borders. People want to be able to, you know, live their own lives, have limited government, you know, government do what they need to do to make our lives better, not what we do to make their lives better, you know.
Right. Right.
But I'm really hoping that. Oh, and guess what? I believe I'm starting to get shadow banned on her YouTube channel because
Oh,
I was actually
wait,
remember
wait. On whose YouTube channel?
on Tulsi Gabbard's.
Tulsi
I don't know
is.
that for sure. Her
Wow.
YouTube channel. Yeah.
No
Now the
shit.
reason remember when I was reading the comments that I was having with the people that were responding to my comment. Um, I, you know, nobody really responded back after, you know, after I said, because I kind of check on it to see if someone does, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm guessing, now I'm not saying that it's for sure that I'm shadow banned, but I know nobody responded to my comment today. But I probably said some stuff that they didn't like. So therefore, my comment ain't going to be seen by anybody that scrolls through those comment sections, you know.
Oh, well,
But
that's kind of funny.
I'm yeah, well, I mean, they hate me, Carl. I mean, come on, I'm
Yeah.
the most hated commenter on YouTube. But seriously, I was trying to reach anybody on her side that has a shred or just a little bit of cognitive thinking, because trying to help them bring awareness to what's going on in the Democrat Party, because it's as my comment said, if they're kicking Tulsi out to not give her a voice because they want people like Beto, they want people like Warren, they don't want people like Tulsi who have some right-leaning views on certain things. You know, I'm trying to help them, show them, look, so your candidate doesn't have a right to speak. You don't have a right to hear what she's saying because the progressives, you know, I mean, it just, you would hope that somebody would listen at least, you know. But I think I might have been getting through to some people. I mean, either that or they didn't respond, you know.
Right. Oh,
You
looks
know, I
like
mean, it's one of the two.
looks like you're attracting some attention in the chat room. It looks like Florida budget bike bill says it's crazy how everyone loves this gun grabber, referring to Tulsi, and DM's like, oh no, not Tulsi again, and
No, I'm
so
not. I don't support Tulsi. I don't. But I, you know, let's be on. I'm sorry, Carl. I'll make this real quick. I didn't mean to deviate from the topic.
no, not at all.
If it, okay. But everybody has to understand something, and they have to understand it very, very crucially. The Democrat Party is not going anywhere, whether they be a minority party or a moderate party, they're not going anywhere. So you have to try and bring, you know, if there's anybody with any sense over there that can at least, you know, get through to some of the more moderate base, or you know, some of the kind of similar to how H.A. Goodman got through to borders about how Trump was good. You see what I'm saying? You know, he convinced, you know, he was, you know, a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters saw what the DNC did, and they didn't. I mean, they were disappointed. Bernie let them down. He let them down. And I think Tulsi Gabbard is in a similar position to what Bernie Sanders was in 2016. And they don't want the focus on Tulsi Gabbard because she has moderate views that are right-leaning. And
Right.
if people can help bring awareness to that, maybe you can start getting people to see the other side, you know, like their side, to see our side. You see what I'm saying?
No, no, I
I don't know
totally
if it
no
makes sense in a
no.
way.
No, I totally understand your point. Look, you know, I'm opposed to Tulsi for the same reason you are as far as her guns. You know, issue is you want to take our guns. You know, she's from Hawaii, the whole 10 yards. A bunch of liberals out there. They don't understand gun ownership. They never will. Whatever. But
No, that yeah, that's true.
but I understand your point that at least you can try to bring some kind of reason back to the Democratic Party. You know, otherwise it's going to, you know, look, the party's got to come back to center left at a minimum because, you know,
Yeah.
if it stays far left, there's two things can happen. One, it'll never win a national election again, and then we're all happy.
Yeah.
But say it stays far left, and
Mhm.
then something stupid happens, and they just happen to win a
Mhm.
national election with some far left candidate. That's not good. So, you know, like, yeah, we can
Yeah.
roll the dice and say, well, we're going to always win a national election. But, you know, that may not be the case. You know, something stupid happens a month out from an election or something. You know, maybe like our candidate dies, you know, I mean, something stupid, right? And then, you know, boom,
Mhm.
the far left candidate who just had no chance of winning suddenly is president of the United States. So, you know, we want that party
Mhm.
to become somewhat rational and normal. And so
Mhm.
I agree with you. It'd be good
Yeah.
if they start listening to her to become rational and normal. But in today's climate, I can't see that happening. I mean, Klobuchar was trying that the other
Yeah.
night. They try to bring people around saying, hey, look, if you don't like the far left extremes, you know, look at me. And she was actually talking where it made sense. She was against an assault weapons ban. She came right out and said it. She was
Mhm.
against taking guns away. So, I mean, is she going to get any traction in the Democratic Party? I don't know. Probably not in this
Mhm.
year, but you know this year if they get they get their clocks cleaned, kind of be like the Democratic Party. It'll be like Republican Party in
Mhm.
'64. It'll be
Mhm.
kind of almost like if it wasn't for Watergate, the Democratic Party would have gone back to center left after '72. But you know Watergate, and you had Jimmy Carter. He wasn't so much far left. He was a complete moron. I mean, he was just the governor of Georgia, and he
Mhm.
really didn't understand anything about uh, running a country. Didn't understand about international affairs. Didn't understand anything about the CIA. Didn't understand anything about anything.
Mhm.
But yeah, if it wasn't for the
Yeah.
Watergate, then you probably would have seen like probably Hubert Humphrey in '76 or something like that, getting the nomination and probably
Mhm.
becoming president. But you know, Watergate, they just wanted
Yeah.
a complete outsider. It was just a weird '76 was just a weird election all the way around. So there you go.
Mhm.
Plus,
Yeah.
Reagan didn't actually help much in '76 when he tried to primary Gerald Ford, and that then split the party. He
Mhm.
took it right up to the convention. In fact, Reagan's a great guy, but he didn't do the party any favors
Mhm.
in '76. He just didn't. Ford might have pulled off
Yeah.
the win in '76 if Reagan didn't fracture the Republican Party in '76. So there we go.
Yeah.
But
Well.
go ahead.
Mhm. Well, I mean, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I was going to go ahead and get to the story on O'Rourke, but you want
Mhm.
to do that? You
Yeah.
want to cover the
Mhm.
O'Rourke story? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Mhm.
let me get
Yep.
that pulled up here, and again the phone lines are open 775-273-8970 if you want to call in and speak to the great dirtbag and I, and add to the conversation. That's fine. If you want to appear by VMix video call, there's the email address right up there, ca2jogger@gmail.com. And you
Mhm.
can send me an email. Just put in the chat. Hey man, I sent you an email. I want to be on the video call. I'll send you a link.
Mhm.
You hit said link. You come on in, and I can go up to 6, 7, 8 video callers at once. So got plenty of room, plenty of space. Don't worry about that. All right, so let's get us.
DM, come on, come in. Mhm.
Yeah,
I was
feel
calling to
free.
see if DM wanted to come in.
Yeah, and feel free to call in or show up by video call.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
boom.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll get to this story here. And Chris Matthews labels O'Rourke gun buyback extreme. I don't know where you get away with that. And there's a picture of Beto O'Rourke, and you just saw in the, I had the raccoon up right next to him, kind of looked like him actually, the raccoon. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, it
But
does.
yeah,
I
it
love that
does. Yeah,
raccoon.
it does look. It actually did kind of look like him a little bit. All right, so even MSNBC's host Chris Matthews, Mr. Far Left Liberal, Mr. I get a fuzzy feeling running down my leg when I think of Barack Obama, suggested Thursday that former Representative Beto O'Rourke's proposed mandatory buyback of semi-automatic rifles is a losing issue. And we show this up a little bit. There we go. I don't. He says, I don't know where you get away with that. The liberal host said after Thursday night Democratic presidential primary debate. During the debate, Mr. O'Rourke reiterated his plan to ban assault weapons and implement a mandatory federal gun buyback program. And this is from Beto saying, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15 and your AK-47, the former Texas congressman declared, to a round of applause. Matthews later described the position as extreme. That evening began with calls for unity, the host said during his post-debate analysis. I think it was pushback against hard ideology of the Democratic left. That was the theme for a while, but then I thought some of the strong ideologues, people who have strong agendas like Warren and Sanders, were very clear where they stand. Medicare for all, no private insurance, absolute position on that. Bernie and Sanders and Warren competed on paying off all student loans. Then Beto came along and said he's going to not just buy back the semi-automatic assault rifles, but demand that they sell them back. I don't know where you get away with that. I noticed Kamala Harris talked about an executive order. This would be an extraordinary ruling by the Supreme Court that would allow a president to use executive orders to demand the end of ownership of automatic weapons by semi-automatic assault weapons. I think these are 3 or 4 cases of extreme ideological positions, he added. But generally, I thought there was pushback on the stage against the hard left, but really not enough. And then you have Chris Coons, coming out the next day. Chris Coons has been a big gun control nutcase, and even he said. He was like, oh, no, he kind of gave it away. Like, Chris Coons wasn't mad that Beto had that position, but he's mad that Beto gave it away, basically. So, basically, yeah, Chris Coons pretty much saying, like, you are so not helping. In other words, for years, remember, the left has always been trying to say, don't worry, we're not coming for your guns. We're not going to take them away. We're just going to have gun safety legislation, reasonable gun safety legislation. We're not going to do anything stupid. And remember, they've been saying all that. But it turns out, we always said on our end, saying, no, this is bullshit. Looks like we woke up, Effie Loves America up. Oh, too bad. Oh, well. But anyway, so.
Oh, Effie,
yeah, she just popped
wow,
into the chat.
It's been a while. Hey, Effie, what's up?
Just popped into the chat. But yeah, so what Chris Coons is saying is like, oh, it's not good politics, but that's exactly what they've been wanting to do for years. They've been wanting to take away our guns, and so basically Coons is like saying, he says, I'm a gun owner. My sons and I have gone ski shooting and hunting. But the Second Amendment, again, was not written to protect people to go hunting. Okay, that's not what the Second Amendment was written for. So every time I hear somebody say, oh, I go hunting, I go ski shooting, Second Amendment was written so that the government would not have a monopoly on the use of force. So that if the government ever got too extreme, that's why it's in the Bill of Rights. It's in the Bill of Rights. The government ever got too extreme, that we would be armed, and the government would know that. They couldn't just, become like a dictatorship overnight, that we'd always have the means and the ability with small arms to be able to rebel and overthrow them. And so I hate when these liberals say, oh, I go hunting. It's like as if like the founding fathers had to make a constitution. There's only 10 amendments to the Constitution. And they said, oh, you know what, we better protect hunting because, that's important. No, they weren't protecting the right to go hunting. Yeah. They're protecting the right of the American people to rebel against a dictatorship that could form in this country and to overthrow it and start again. I mean, remember, these people just overthrew a dictatorship. They just overthrew, they just did that. So it wasn't like,
maybe these liberals ought to question why there's a Socialist Rifle Association. I mean, those that join that Socialist Rifle Association, I'm gonna see if I can find it right now. But it's it's funny because they seem to have at least a knowledge of why people own weapons. Yep, Liberal Gun Club. Wikipedia, Liberal Rifle Association, Facebook. I hope those that listen on the side, Carl, actually research this because I'm looking at it right here. Why would, see, like the mission of the Liberal Gun Club is to provide a pro-Second Amendment voice for the left of center gun owners in the state. Like I've always said, center left are, that own, those that are on the left that are center are usually the ones that own a gun for self-defense, And, I'm surprised that I don't know how big this organization is. It doesn't seem like it's as big as the NRA, but it's here. They have a website, Liberal Gun Club,
Right.
It's a fun C4 nonprofit, but I don't know if they're involved in any political or any like endorsing candidates or anything like that. But, it's funny what you find if you just do the research. I mean, but.
Right.
I don't know. Sorry, Carl. Go ahead. I do apologize.
No, not at all. It's just that for years we've been saying that this is what they really, really want, and they've been saying, oh no, we don't. And then the only thing the Democrats are mad at is that he said it out loud. because Chris Coons said, it's like this is going to be played at every rally. That clip is going to be used as a commercial, and any Democrat that doesn't completely 100% disavow it, Republicans are going to be able to play that clip over and over and over again. And so look, these are the Democrats, and then they're going to play the cheers that came from the audience. Because remember when he I'm not sure if you watched the debate. I had to watch the whole thing because I recorded it for that show I did that night. And I showed clips and highlights, but I had to watch the whole thing to pull out the clips and highlights. But that crowd was cheering when he said that, and I mean they were cheering loudly, and that was a big audience, and they were all Democrats. So that's what they want. That's what they're wanting to do, and nobody should have any qualms about that. That's exactly what's going to be happening. So,
Carl, there is one thing that nobody seems to. Well, somebody did. I don't remember who it was that I saw it on, but there's something to take away from this because we all know that these globalists. Remember how I was talking a while back on your show about how they're going to change their tactics and how they're going to change how they do things. They might even. I'm not saying that they're going to use like a capitalist type of message or anything like that because I don't know how they would do that. I don't, but what they're doing is like, see, people like BETO, and some of these other ones, they serve as a distraction because if you look at what they're doing, anybody who donates to Republicans or a conservative cause, they try to dox you. They try to ruin your life. They try to put your information out there for, whether for not being able to get credit for a home or, credit to buy a house or credit, to get a job. And this is one of the tactics that the left is doing to try and force people not to basically support conservative causes. And because let's face it, they know even though we still got to get Trump over that finish line, we have to be vigilant about the other things that they're doing to try and people not to basically vote conservative, supporting people who support conservative ideas. They want to control people through fear, obviously. And but fear, if is the definition, that can be, well, they make you afraid to, let's say one day you go to work and you find out you don't have a job anymore because, the company you work for is afraid to, have you employed there, because they're afraid of some kind of backlash or some left-wing group, I mean, these are tactics that they're using that are very, very, I don't know how effective they are. I guess it would depend on the circumstances of which these tactics were deployed. But, it's something that people got to be looking out for, I mean, yeah, it seems like these globalists have kind of lost control of their puppets a little bit, and they're trying to, do what they can to, hang on to fame or maybe try to climb up in the polls. But, Beto's just a useful idiot at this point. My thoughts. I don't know. What do you think?
Beto is a useful idiot for us. He's a useful idiot for us because I mean, look, he's so desperate to rise up in the polls that he's gonna go and give the base what they want, and the base wants gun control. They want gun confiscation. Look, I was watching Bill Maher years ago, and he had Ari Melber, who's like the lawyer. I don't know how many cases he's ever tried, but he's a lawyer on MSNBC. And he was on his show, and Bill Maher was talking about the fact that he owns a gun, he owns a handgun. And Ari Melber wasn't just like, oh, is it safe? What? He goes, why do you own a gun? Like, he found it so obnoxious that someone would own a gun. It's like, why do you own a gun? And it was just like, and Bill Maher's like, hey, I own two. One for the upstairs and one for the downstairs. He goes, there's been a lot of robberies and burglaries in my neighborhood and everything, and that's why I own it. But they are just so opposed to even just anyone owning a firearm. And so all Beto did was just say exactly what they all think. I mean, it was nothing new. It was totally nothing new. So here, let's put this one up here.
I'm just the thing that I mean, like the things that we have to consider, and we also have to, one thing at a time. We have to, obviously we got to get Trump over the finish line in 2020. We got to get him reelected. Then we got to Then we got to worry about retaking the House. Hopefully, we can do that. Um, and I've been very active on my Parler wall where I posted a thing today where they show this guy kind of falling, like, not falling hard, but just kind of like out of exhaustion, right? And I'm like, this is a perfect representation of conservatives who stay home because their candidate did not win the primary. And, I mean, some people responded to it, but I was kind of hoping for more of a wake up kind of, acknowledgement,
You didn't get
and,
it.
people, no, they didn't. I mean, some did, but a lot of them didn't. And, I don't know, maybe I should have attached a one-liner to it because the one-liners are the stuff that gets echoed more than anything else. So,
Right.
whatever, I got to do that. But anyway, more to the point was that, the conservatives, we cannot be doing this in a midterm. I mean, if Putnam didn't get elected here, right, in Florida, well, he didn't win his primary. Okay, well, how many Putnam supporters do you think stayed home? Quite a bit. I'll bet you if the Putnam voters had voted DeSantis probably would have won by, 6 digits rather than 5 digits. I mean, narrow wins are not going to cut it. We can't have narrow wins like we did with Dan Bishop in North Carolina.
Right.
I mean,
that was close.
Yeah, and we can't have that. We
Right.
cannot have that.
Right.
I'm sorry, Carl. I don't mean to. My apologies.
Well, no.
Oh,
I agree. I mean, you can't. I mean, the idea of primarying somebody in a general election year when we need all hands on deck and the Democrats are really still angry and pissed off, and they're even more pissed off. And
Yeah.
like this story right here, we see, the picture of Lindsey Graham there. Senate confirms 150th Trump judicial nominee. I mean, the liberals are fuming over this. I mean, here, let's tell you what. Let's just go through this story real quick. You'll see why. Let me just jump over here.
Mhm.
So. All right, so anyway, historic milestone. Senate confirms 150th Trump judicial nominee. And it's from the Washington Times. The U.S. Senate confirmed President Trump's 150th judicial nominee on Wednesday, helping to fulfill the president's campaign promise to remake the federal bench with a conservative bent. Now, that's the evangelical vote right there. Now, again, Trump is a philanderer. He's an adulterer. He's a fornicator. He's worse, like, even though he didn't say this, but like he grabs women by the vagina. I mean, he's awful. The evangelicals like, ew. But one thing he made a promise to him on, he said, look, you want the Supreme Court? You want the U.S. District Court judges? You're getting tired of getting, beat up at U.S. District Court. You're getting tired of getting beat up at the Circuit Court of Appeals. You're getting tired of getting beat up at the Supreme Court. Because I tell you what, you vote for me, I'm going to give you the judges you want. And every judge he's picked has been with the blessing of the evangelicals and in the Federalist Society. And so let me tell you something. Mayor Pete Buttigieg can talk all he wants about his Christianity and everything like that to try to peel off some of those evangelicals. Let me tell you something. They're not going anywhere. And let me tell you something. When it gets closer, you're going to see him coming out. Big endorsements again, big, conventions, everybody cheering and stuff. And he's got them. Because this
Trump's already.
Yeah, because here, you see the numbers he has. So Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham called the number of confirmations an historic milestone. These conservative judicial appointments will impact our nation for years to come, decades, the South Carolina Republican said. 6 district court nominees won confirmation Wednesday. Six district court judges, that's big, bringing the president's total number of appointed judges at the district court level to 105. Mr. Trump has appointed 43 Circuit Court of Appeal justices as well, and 2 Supreme Court justices since taking office. The pace has far outdone President Obama, who only saw 20 Circuit Court nominees versus 43, and 74 District Court judges versus 105 at this same time period. But Obama, though, like Trump, also had 2 Supreme Court appointments within his first 3 years, Kagan and Sotomayor. Now, here we go. Here's where it gets interesting. Liberal advocacy groups said the 150th judicial confirmation is alarming, stressing the need to make judicial nominees and the courts a 2020 campaign issue. As of today's confirmation votes, Trump and McConnell have confirmed 150 judges to the federal bench, a group that can overwhelmingly be described as, remember now, this is his left-wing activist group saying this, as narrow-minded and elitist. favoring corporations and the powerful over the interests of all Americans. Bullshit, said Marge Baker, Executive Vice President of People for the American Way. Yeah, not People for Her Way and her left-leaning friends. But anyway, so they're pissed. So they're coming out. So the point about this is we need all hands on deck. We don't need a split party. We don't need somebody getting primaried and having to spend a shitload of money finding off a primary challenger and getting weakened, and then all the supporters of the primary challenge being pissed off and wanting to stay home on election day. So this is not the year to do it. Okay, look, this is not a given. This is not a given, okay? I mean, hey, I was there in '88 when Dukakis was ahead by 17 points. 17 points a month out from the elections, okay? And he lost by 4, okay? There's no such thing as a given, okay? Things happen. You know, people stay home. People do whatever. It rains. There's a hurricane. Who knows? Whatever, okay?
You know, there's another thing that hasn't been, it's only been mentioned once, but and this is another reason why we cannot stay home during the midterms, because AOC and the squad are starting to try and primary some of Nancy Pelosi's allies out of the Democrat Party. And like I've always said, if the progressives win that civil war within the Democrat Party, it's going to be much worse. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because in those districts where they're trying to primary her allies out of office, people need to get in there and elect Republican conservatives in those districts, so those progressive candidates that they're trying to endorse, get rid of Pelosi's allies, don't win. I mean, we need to get those conservatives to win in those districts. You know,
right?
I mean, people, we are, make no mistake, we are in a war of minds. We are in a war of, words, ideology. I mean, people just, people got to start learning how to think cognitively. I mean, we got to get with the program. I mean, this is as real as it gets. It's as real as it gets.
Right.
I just don't know, Carl. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I have faith. I believe people, with Trump getting elected, there's hope, but 2020 is crucial. 2022 is going to be crucial. Or was it 2022 the next
congressional race?
God, well, the next midterm.
2020 is the general election. 2022 is the next midterm. 2024 the next general election after that. All right,
because
and look,
battle.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, this battle is going to last a long time. I mean, this isn't just one thing. I mean, this is going to be a battle every election. I mean, we have to get out there and vote. I'm sorry, Carl. Go ahead. I do apologize.
No, it's just that Irina Linsky gave me a nice segue into our next story.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, see, there's her job. What is the latest on the oil field strikes by Iran? Anybody know? So, actually, and I done a little deep dive research into what the hell's going on, because I keep asking people, hey, what's up with these Houthis in Yemen, and why are the Saudis back in the original government, the last government? What's going on? Nobody can give me a damn answer. So I decided to do some research on it myself today. So we'll cover this in a little bit of deep dive. But first, we'll cover the story here from the Wall Street Journal. U.S. blames Iran for the attack on the Saudi oil facilities. I'm not sure if they're saying the bombs came from Iran, but there were definitely drone strikes from Yemen, probably provided to them by the Iranians. The Houthis in Yemen are it's like well, we'll get to that. I'll tell you what, because I don't want to mix that up, because I was researching it, and it's like they jump all over the place as far as who's who and what's what and who's supporting what religion and everything else. But anyway, so Saudi Arabia shuts down about half its oil output after airstrikes. So here we go. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo blamed Iran for coordinated strikes in the heart of Saudi Arabia's oil industry, saying they marked an unprecedented attack on the world's energy supply. The strike shut down half of the kingdom's crude production on Saturday, potentially roiling petroleum prices and demonstrating the power of Iran's proxies. Iran-allied Houthi rebels in neighboring Yemen claimed credit for the attack, saying they sent 10 drones, 10, mind you, to strike at important facilities in Saudi Arabia's oil-rich eastern province. But Pompeo said there was no evidence the strikes had come from Yemen. Interesting. In a tweet, he said the U.S. will work with allies to ensure that energy markets remain well supplied and Iran is held accountable for its aggression. He added that the strike showed Iran wasn't serious about diplomacy. Now, this is interesting. I'll tell you why, because the last time Iran did something pretty nasty was when they shot down one of our drones, and then Trump gave them a way out. See, you got to look at, in my opinion, what's going on here with like every time North Korea launches a missile test, and every time Iran does something stupid, I think that's China pulling the strings, because I think China is wanting us, to kind of ease off on the trade negotiations, not pay so much attention to China. So every time they don't like something, they do something. I think they get Iran to do something in the Persian Gulf. I think they get President Kim to launch a missile, to just as a test, just to let us know that they can control what's going on around the world. And if we have to pay attention to Iran and the Persian Gulf, that's less attention we can pay to the South China Sea and the China. So I think this is all part of these big negotiations that are going on right now. As far as like somebody else's chat today, and even they said like Trump with the anti-vaping, machines, since China, exports a lot of the imitation vaping cartridges. He was saying like that was like a dump on China. It was like it's all this negotiate because he's talking about the most important thing going on in the world right now between the United States and China is trade. You're talking hundreds of billions of dollars per year. I mean, that is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, it blows everything else away as far as what's going on. So, the United States is using more than just negotiating tactics. I think we're doing a lot of stuff. The Chinese are doing a lot of stuff. And we're using the rest of the world to kind of negotiate with each other. Albeit the Chinese just, as you saw when that thing, the Democrats try to pit the soybean farmers against President Trump, saying there's hundreds of tons, thousands of tons of soybeans, sitting in storage containers and they can't sell them. And then Trump told the Chinese, well, look, I'm not going to raise it up to 30% from 25%, like I promised in October. And next, the Chinese buy 600,000 metric tons of soybeans. It was the day after the debate, so they sent a pretty loud signal to everybody saying, okay, you can fuck with Trump on this so much, but you know what? I think the Chinese are reading the Democratic Party right now, and they're probably seeing that these people don't have a chance to beat Trump. So they're probably figuring, oh, shit, we can't wait till after 2020 because it's probably going to be Trump again anyway. We might as well start trying to work something out now. That's my opinion on that. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the CCP, you've heard of Huawei, right? The tech giant?
Right.
There was something, George Soros came out and, George Soros in his manner trying to look, he was praising Trump for handling China, but he was also, I think he was trying to pressure Congress into not allowing Trump to use Huawei as a bargaining chip for any kind of trade talks. But, Huawei, China wants Huawei to be like the leader in the 5G market, I guess. And
well, yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe they can control everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know why Trump just doesn't go ahead and try and bankrupt Huawei. Quit giving them access to Western technology, because most of what Huawei uses, to my understanding, is Western technology. I mean, their computers, their processors. I mean, just everything. That's my understanding anyway. I could be wrong on that, but like look at what's going on in Hong. I mean, like just like this thing with Iran, like how you were saying, China pulling the strings. Well, Hong Kong. You don't really hear much about Taiwan and China much anymore, but that doesn't get covered that much. But it seems like China, the Chinese Communist Party, they know that they're losing money. I mean, the capitalist markets have made those people rich. They made so much money off of, what was it? They were investing in some tech companies, I think, weren't they? Some of the people from the if I'm not mistaken.
What? Who was investing in the tech company? I'm sorry.
Some of the people in the Chinese Communist Party, weren't they investing in some of the American tech companies?
Oh, like in
stocks, buying the stock.
That I did not hear about that. What have you heard about that? Tell me.
I thought there was, I don't know, there was something that, there was a documentary that Steve Bannon, I watched it. I should have probably rewatched it again before, but there was something about how, God, what was it? Some of the people of the CCP that the Wall Street markets or something had given, they had bought like stock in some companies, like tech companies, and they made a lot of money off of that. I mean, Disabled Vet had that. He was doing that thing where how China was buying some of the seaports, and they were trying to buy like ports around California, and I think they own quite a few of them out there now. But it's like they're trying to like a lot of the shipping lanes around the world. Um, I don't know. It seems like they're just scrambling to try and get attention, any kind of attention diverted away from them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to really say what's going on through the mind of China right now. I mean, they know, like you were saying, they know they're in trouble. They know that, they even appointed some kind of a what was it? Was it a financial commission? I think to try and calculate some of the some of the things that would cost them with trade, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, like a trade
Um,
commissioner or something
yeah, I think, yeah, some kind of a trade commissioner. Yeah.
well, they were trying to
Um,
I think for enforcement for the enforcement ability.
yeah, but this I don't know. I mean, because a lot of these Democrats, they had, like Dianne Feinstein, she has business dealings in China. I mean, God knows how many some of these other Democrats have business dealings in China. You know, I mean, any kind of trade talks will affect their pockets. Is going to affect these Democrats that are doing business in China. They're not going to be. Then
Right.
maybe they don't get that. Maybe they don't get that bonus or that kickback that. And I don't know. I mean, there's so much stuff that is going on. I mean, I do my best to try and keep up with everything, but it's just you just don't know. That it's like there's just so much they're bombarding. Um, the that documentary that Steve Bannon did with I think it was with Epic Times was really informative. Especially they were bringing to light some of the things Huawei was doing. Because I think Huawei is isn't it, it's kind of an arm of the CCP intelligence agency, isn't it?
Well,
To my understanding of it, because
that's our claim. Our claim is that, and they're saying, hey, we're an independent company. Don't worry. But they have a law in China that all companies that any company in China has to give whatever information the government asks of it, including intelligence services. So they can just show up again. They just show up, knock on the door, and they just walk into the guy who owns Huawei and say, "Hey, we want all the data and all the information you have on any telecommunications between inside the United States, whatever." And they say, "Well, no, we're an independent country," and then they point the AK-47s at them and they say, "Oh, okay, here you go." So pretty much that's the concern is that, they have a law in China that says that, and, they can write up some phony baloney law, but when the guys with the AK-47 show up and there's nobody, the owner can't call the police and say, hey, the Chinese government's here with their AK-47s. They want me to turn everything over. I mean, you're calling the same people. I mean, it's a police state.
yeah,
It's a dictatorship. There you go. So, I mean, that's the concern is that 5G is so much more intrusive than the 4G. It gets into everything. It's like if anybody's ever done any corporate work, like an SAP program, like where when you sell something, it like having a refrigerator that when you pull something out of the refrigerator, it tells you have to buy it, and then like in the future, not like maybe like 2 minutes from now, then it sends an order to your grocery store saying that you'll be coming by to pick up milk today or something, shit like that. Well, it's that intrusive. It wraps around your entire life. It's having that Alexa in your house, times a million. Okay, it's Alexa everywhere. Okay, there's nothing you do or say or whatever that isn't recorded, and then they can turn that over to the Chinese intelligence services. That's the problem.
yeah. The other thing too is this credit scoring system that China, like the credit scoring system, I think that China has. They're trying to bring that over here, and basically, based on the knowledge of what I have seen on it, just bits and pieces, is that it basically it judges you based on how you vote, what you buy, how you spend your money. I mean, we've always had a credit system in place, of course, but this is like basically your personal life. It's like let's say if you say if you show up to work so many times late, or you call in sick so many times, or you have a history of making a late payment, or even if the way you vote, or the things you buy,
Right.
and this can really be damaging to a lot of people, even who have good credit, because if you can't get a loan to pay a car, or you can't get because of the system, it's going to really, really hurt it's really going to hurt the financial free markets. I think this
Yeah.
is another way that they're trying to take control of the. This is another way they're trying to take control of the markets around the
Right.
world, is with this social credit system. I
Right.
mean, but as ABL says, I digress.
Oh, I was on a ABL site earlier. Were you on his site earlier by any chance?
No, he live streams when I can't get.
Oh yeah, because he
I
goes on
barely
at
get on it.
right. He goes on at 8 o'clock your
Hmm.
time. No, I was on his live stream today, and I was sending some super chats up there. So they're talking about vapes and stuff, and so I said, so I wrote a super chat saying, "Cool people smoke cigarettes. Look it up." Carl. And right, so somebody goes, "Well, I'd rather be healthy than cool." So then I send another super chat, and I say, "Cigarettes are healthy for you. Look it up, Carl." And then the guy writes back. I forgot what he wrote back. He goes, "Oh no, it gives you lung cancer." So then I write a bigger super chat. This one cost me a few bucks because there's so much space on it. I wrote back. I said, so I made up this phony story, and I said, yeah, I was standing at a street corner, and there was this guy standing next to me, and we were getting ready to cross the street, and the light turned green. And I went to cross, but I stopped to light up a cigarette. Meanwhile, he crossed the street and he got hit by a car. So I wrote, "What do you say about
Oh.
that?" Yeah, well, I made it up. It's a funny story. So I go, "Well, what do you say about
Yeah.
that?" So it's like, so the lighting up the cigarette saved my life, because I didn't cross the street with
Hmm.
the other guy who wasn't smoking. So anyway, so it's funny. So Logan read them. He reads out the super chats, right? So
Hmm.
Logan read the last one. He goes, "Oh," he starts laughing because I've been on his site a lot of times, and
Hmm.
then he reads all of them,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Oh yeah," he's just, "Oh, that's too good. That's good." But it's like,
He's
like,
never. He has. Uh,
go ahead.
he's never pinned any of my one-liners to like. I don't know. I don't know what he thinks when he reads my one-liners.
I don't
That'd be
think
interesting to know. But he does.
I don't think he does. I don't think he looks at the comment section that much. I don't think he has the
Hmm.
time to, because
Yeah.
he puts out like 2 videos a day, and
Hmm.
he does a lot of research. You can tell he does a lot of research, and he does a lot of prep work. As far as bringing other videos in and news stories in
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So I don't think he really looks at the comment section too much. Have you seen him like ever put a heart on somebody else's comment in his comment section?
I've never had a heart from. I've never had a heart from from
No, I
his
mean,
side on the comment section of mine.
no, I mean, did you ever see,
I'm,
did you ever see anybody else have a heart, though?
not that I remember. Not that I
Yeah.
remember. But some of my comments get taken down. I know there was one I was looking at the other night, and it had almost it had almost 1,000 likes, but I can't find it anywhere. I
Where
can't
was that?
find it
Where
anywhere.
was that? What site were you on?
It was on OANN. It was about this. I forget the guy's name, but he was he was Muslim, but he was speaking out against, like, he was talking about, like, he was speaking out against radical Islam, and I made a comment that, like, we need more moderate Muslims to speak up against these radicals, and of course, a bunch of people come in. I don't remember, like, I mean, there was like 40, 50 responses, I think, close to around there, but people were like, "Oh, there's no such thing as a moderate Muslim, yada yada. This guy's just pretending." Well, I doubt it, because if you're on OANN, because OANN is not liked by any of the major cable networks. I mean,
No.
Comcast won't even carry them.
Right, and that's part of their
And
loss. That's funny. That's part of their lawsuit when they sued MSNBC and NBC Universal
mhm,
for telling everybody that when Rachel Maddow said that they're Russian propaganda, they're paid for by the Russians, and they said, and well, they know that. See, they're not, because they would have never filed a suit, because they open
yeah,
themselves up to getting discovery and all their paperwork to show where the
mhm,
money comes from. So they open themselves up for that. So it's not true. So they have a good case. But what they also attached in there too as well, they brought up the fact that Comcast, that since it owns NBC and MSNBC,
mhm,
won't broadcast One American News Network, just saying it's like a vertical monopoly. So they won't put it on. Comcast, which owns NBC, won't put it on as part of their cable package because it's a vertical monopoly. Which they probably a good case for that too, because they can say, hey, look,
Yeah.
we're a competing news organization to MSNBC and the NBC Nightly News, and that's why you won't put us on. And that's probably a good argument to make too. So I'm glad they bootstrapped that cause of action onto the injunction and the defamation lawsuit, because that I think they can get some traction on that. To be honest with you.
I'm really
go ahead.
glad Robert Herring, because from what I understand, Robert Herring is a conservative. I don't know about his family, but I know he's a conservative. And One American News, since they've been covering Trump, they've been growing. They're almost mainstream. And they can't just they can't just the left cannot just attack them like, let's say, these independent content creators that are on YouTube. I mean, OANN is becoming big, and that's a good thing, because conservatives need, same thing with Epoch Times. Epoch Times is becoming big too. I think Epoch Times was started by I think it was from people from China, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that fled communist China. At least that's what they claim in their advertisements. But the point that I'm getting at with all this is that these organizations are starting to pick up traction, because they see that if you just bring people the news and let people figure it out for themselves, and you leave all the activism out of it, you have an audience. You have an audience that wants something fresh, that is craving something fresh. Going back to the way real journalism was. There was a thing I posted it on my wall in Parler, that the Peggy Hubbard video with Don Lemon, and you see Don Lemon just I posted on my wall. I'm surprised I was able to find it as easy as I was, but basically I wrote, anybody who drinks MSNBC Kool-Aid ought to take a look at this video, and it's showing Don Lemon being very civil with her, kind of, just asking her questions, but I don't know. I think, we all know CNN, what they are now, but kind of makes you wonder what they were like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't propaganda then. I never followed CNN, so I don't really.
Well, no, I used to know back in the '90s, CNN was in the '80s actually even too. I mean, they had it was a great news station. I mean, their headline news was. I mean, that's back before we had 24/7 news. So headline news was like, you got news stories every half hour. You had it was live. 24 hours a day. When they started falling off, they were just showing clips at night. But they used to have like news, live people on, 24 hours a day, and every half hour they showed new stuff. So some were repeat stuff, but I mean, it was if something broke, they were on it. And CNN had a nightly news hour that was by far one of the best nightly news hours ever. And Bernard Shaw was the host of it. And it was great. It was straight down the middle. Wasn't any kind of bias. It was just good reporting. And I watched it. A lot of people I knew watched it too. Everybody watched it instead of watching the network. The networks had a liberal bias. This didn't. But then Ted Turner sold it to AOL, and after that, that was the end of it. See you later. Have a nice day.
Well, it's like, if you look at, like, just real quick. I don't mean to divert but when you look at ABC, NBC, all these companies, like back in the 80s and 70s, they were owned by, people
General
who have
Electric,
family values. You look at
General Electric, yeah. I mean, the guy who ran General Electric was very family value, very America oriented. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and these companies just got taken over by left wing radicals, and special interest groups, and I don't, who knows, like Soros, who knows how much stock he owns in CNN and MSNBC. I mean, he probably controls a lot of what goes on with that company, more so than we probably think. But, I mean, they don't want the rise of things like OANN, Blaze TV. I mean, yeah, Blaze TV is good. I like Mark Levin. Who else? Chad Prather, I think, is on there. And then you got Lauren Chen, or Lorraine Chen, if I'm saying her name right. they're great. Steven Crowder, they're all great conservative hosts. But
Yeah.
I just wish that they would be a little bit more aggressive with these with some of these talking points. I mean, yeah, they have a good I guess they have to be careful because if they're on they're on the internet obviously, and Google could say, look, we're not going to host your app if you do this, that. So I guess you have to kind of get your message out, like like how we're doing the best you can.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you know, but so
All right. Let's see.
yeah,
Let's check
but
the next
oh, go
story.
ahead.
All right.
Mhm.
Anyway, I was showing a little bit of history of the Houthi uprising, Houthi insurgency in Yemen. Because again, it's a story nobody's really
Mhm.
covering as far as, well, who's fighting who
Oh, I
and
haven't heard
why.
about this.
Yeah, and I was
Uh,
just kind of showing how the whole thing began, and they're pretty much, they have they're very close ties to Iran, very anti-American, anti-Israel, and so it's in our interest for these people not to control Yemen. It's very critical. It's a very strategic place, right bordering into the Red Sea through the Suez Canal. A lot of waterways go through there. A lot of trade goes through there, so it's probably it's in our interest to support the Saudis and the Gulf states, what they're doing down there, to try to knock these people out, because these people are just radicals. If they take full power, it's going to be nothing but a disaster. But let's take a look at this story here. Reload this. This is a pretty sick story I pulled up here from this Washington Examiner. Let's see.
Washington Examiner, they're kind of middle of the road, aren't they?
Little more to the right. Definitely more to the right, for sure.
Mhm.
Washington Examiner.
Yeah.
That's Charlie Hurt. Is that Charlie Hurt that runs that?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I can't remember. I can't remember if Hertz with the Times or with the Examiner. But no, for sure, it's definitely to the right, for sure. But anyway, here's a pretty crazy story. Remains of more than 2,200 unborn children were discovered in the Illinois home of a dead abortion doctor. It's from September
Oh my
14th.
God.
Yeah, I mean, this just happened, so we'll take a look at this. All right. The preserved remains of more than 2,200 unborn children were found in the home of Dr. Ulrich Klopfer following his death on September 3rd. Families searching through the late doctor's possessions discovered the remains in Klopfer's Will County, Illinois home and contacted authorities. Law enforcement confirmed that they discovered 2,246 medically preserved bodies of aborted babies, but did not find evidence that any abortions had taken place in Klopfer's residence. Klopfer practiced as an abortion doctor at the Women's Pavilion in South Bend, Indiana. That's where Mayor Peets is the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, but was forced to stop when
Yeah.
his medical license was suspended in 2015 after he failed to report that he had performed an abortion on a preteen girl. She was under 13 years old, like 12, 11, or 10 years old. So he lost his license. The discovery of Klopfer's home echoes an earlier case in Philadelphia in which authorities discovered that abortion doctor Kermit Gosnell had been hoarding thousands of aborted children in their body parts in his clinic, which was deemed a house of horrors
my
by
God.
inspectors. Gosnell was later convicted of murdering 7 children and sentenced to 3 life sentences. Authorities have launched an investigation to discover why Klopfer was in possession of the remains. And there's a picture of him. Kind of looks like a weirdo just to begin with.
God.
Yeah, it looks like a nut. That
Looks
guy.
like Tom Steyer a little bit.
Maybe he
Wow.
does, doesn't he? So yeah, it's just kind of a weird guy. But anyway, on this gun control, there was one other story I wanted to cover. It was kind of interesting on how the Democrats are talking about, they want to do red flag laws, right? So, like, in other words, they're saying if you're someone who's crazy or violent or somebody who shouldn't be owning a gun, you should be able subject to a red flag law in your state jurisdiction. So the Republicans tried introducing an amendment to the bill, which they weren't going to vote on anyway. But they tried introducing an amendment saying that, okay, if you're if you have probable, if the police department in a local city, county, whatever state has probable cause to place you on a gang membership database that you're a gang member, then you should immediately be subject to a red flag law. Period. Well, the Democrats were like, oh, whoa, no. And they said, oh, wait a second. You guys did this big sit-in. Remember that big sit-in the Democrats did a couple of years ago in the House? Yeah, because they wanted to say that if you're on the no-fly list, you can't own a firearm. And the Republicans said, look, that no-fly list is screwed up. There's no probable cause. There's no appeal ability to get your name off it. Ted Kennedy was on the no-fly list. He was at the airport. Senator Ted Kennedy, of all people, he's at the airport. He's trying to get on a plane. They say, sorry, sir, you're on the no-fly list. He goes, do you know who I am? I'm Senator Ted Kennedy. I sit on the Intelligence Committee. I have, ultra top secret clearance. You're telling me I can't get on that plane? He goes, no, sir, you're on the no-fly list. So they put him on the no-fly list, and they've even had, 3-year-olds, 4-year-old people on the no-fly list. So the Republicans said no, but the Democrats said, oh, we got to have this. Well, they said, okay, you wanted that so bad, let's do this. So let's take a look at this story. So House Democrats this week advanced a new measure to encourage states to pass red flag laws, known as extreme risk protection orders, that authorize removing guns and ammunition from dangerous individuals. Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee amended the measure during a Wednesday markup to authorize the federal government to issue extreme risk protection orders in some instances, but they rejected an amendment that would have red flagged anyone who law enforcement lists as a gang member. Gee, I wonder why. The majority of violent crime, including gun violence in the United States, is linked to gangs. Representative Ken Buck, a Colorado Republican who sponsored the amendment, said Wednesday, my amendment is quite simple. It would allow the issuance of a red flag order against anyone whose name appears in a gang database, if there was probable cause to include that individual in the database. Democrats objected, with reasons that sounded very familiar to Republicans. GOP lawmakers have staunchly opposed the no-fly, no-buy proposal, meaning if you're on a no-fly list, you can't buy a gun. Democrats have tried to pass in the House in recent years because the lists flag the wrong people, like the no-fly list, which have erroneously flagged many innocent individuals as terrorists, including the late Senator Ted Kennedy. The gang databases are often inaccurate, Democrats said. And so the Democrats went on to say, California had 3 databases, and they finally stopped when they discovered they had 3-year-olds on the databases as gang members, Representative Lofgren of California said. So some of these are reliable, and a lot of them are not. Buck pointed out his amendment requires law enforcement to limit red flagging to only those with probable cause to be included on the list, which is a stricter criteria. Democrats kept objecting, arguing someone could be misidentified as a gang member simply by writing 13 on a piece of paper and having it wrongly identified as MS-13 gang sign. Maybe you are just doodling because it's the 13th of June, Jerry Nadler said, who's an idiot. Buck said police have to meet a much higher threshold to list someone as a gang member. This is a situation where the police officers are trained, and there are very identifiable signs. And it isn't just one sign, Buck told Nadler. Swalwell offered to support the amendment if Buck agreed to include those listed individuals affiliated with white nationalism. So Buck called his bluff. He goes, okay, you want to call my bluff? I'll call yours. Buck agreed. He said the language should include any type of supremacy. Let's add the Cosa Nostra to this, the old Italian mafia. Well, anyway, the amendment ultimately failed 11-21, but not before the top Republican on the panel, Doug Collins of Georgia, totally cool guy, called out the Democrats for their hypocrisy. So Democrats had states that sit in on the House floor regarding no buy. So Collins went on to say, we had a large blow-up on the floor of the House just a couple of years ago about this no-fly, no-buy list, which was shown to have issues. But at that point, nobody from the other side brought this as a concern. Now we are bringing it as a concern, Collins said. If we can't bring this list up, even with due process put in, then don't ever bring up no-fly, no-buy list ever again. Don't ever bring it up again because there is no due process on that list. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, this kind of reminds me of a little bit, like, even though I know they're different subjects, but the acting, what the Democrats are doing, and the way that they're acting in the same manner as when Trump said that he was going to release, illegal aliens into sanctuary cities, right? Well, the Democrats are like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that, because the Democrats knew what there were a lot of criminals within those people being held that they did not want in their districts. And it's funny because just when you think Trump is, what Trump is doing, he's taking the red flag law and he's throwing it back at them. He's like, okay, this needs to cover this, and this, not just people you want to have targeted. And we all know Democrats want to target law-abiding citizens.
Right.
They, it's the same kind of hypocrisy when they were refusing to accept illegals into sanctuary cities. The Republicans need to get a spine. We need people who are going to. Yeah, we do. The senator, I applaud him because he was, he was throwing it back at them because everything they always want to tie white supremacy to Trump supporters and law-abiding citizens, and this guy's look, okay, you want it this way, fine, have it, but we're gonna anything with supremacy, any kind of group that represents they may not even have supremacy, but they represent a type of supremacy. Yeah, they need to have red flags put on them as well.
Sure. No, see, Buck called his bluff because Swalwell figured, okay, he'll never go for this, and he goes, okay, fine, let's do it, make it all. And then Swalwell's like, oh shit, because he knew Swalwell wasn't going to go along with it. Even if he said yeah, so he goes, okay, fine, do it. And then Swalwell's like, oh shit, well, we'll talk about it later, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Carl, what's really interesting, especially with this globalist cabal, is Trump has run with these people for many, many years. He must have. I mean, the man is brilliant. The man is beyond brilliant because it's like he had everything planned from the beginning when he ran for his presidency. Because I remember that interview he did a while back where they were saying, who was it? I think was it Oprah that asked him, or one of the talk show hosts asked him if he'd ever run for president. And I think it was one of his responses was, no, I didn't want to do it. I would never do it. And then there was like one where he said, well, if I feel like if I was ever needed, I'd do it. So he knew, obviously he knew what was going on from behind the scenes. So, he spent so many years just building up his fame and, finding, just building an audience, building a base wherever he could, like he appeared on WWF. He's appeared on many, many talk shows, obviously. His own show, The Apprentice, had, he made ABC tons of money for that, with that show,
Right.
And it's, he probably had this plan from the beginning, running when he was going to run, when he felt he needed to run,
Right.
But
no, this is, well, I'm not sure how far back he had it planned. Part of me thinks he just got really pissed off when Obama was making fun of him for that whole birther thing when he was at the correspondence dinner, and he says, you know what, like screw you, I'm going to run, that kind of thing. So, so I'm not sure if we went all the way back to The Apprentice, but it seems like he's been talking politics for a long time. Remember in 2000 he said, "Oh, I'm thinking about running." Back in 2000, when he was a lot younger, obviously back then he looked a lot younger too, and it probably would have been a good move back in 2000. But it was, it was the right guy at the right time. 2016, things were going off the rails. The economy wasn't picking up. I mean, it was people were working, but they were working shitty ass jobs. 68% of the jobs created during Obama's administration were living wage jobs only. Living wage meaning just enough to have a shitty roof over your head, to eat shitty food, and wear shitty clothes, and that's it.
Yeah,
you can't.
Jobs,
you can't go to the movies. You can't go out for dinner. You're probably even still on some kind of public assistance. Even with that, that's what 68% of the jobs created under the Obama administration were. It's crap. Okay, number of people who fell below the poverty line, including African Americans, was higher at the last year of Obama than in the first year. Number of people on food stamps, including African Americans, was higher after Obama left office than before he took office. I mean, it was just terrible. Home ownership was awful. It was the worst recovery in history as far as coming out of a recession. It was just terrible. So he came in and he just, the stock market immediately responded. Foreign investment, people were visiting him at Trump Tower, all these foreigners who wanted to bring money in and build plants and shit. And he was saying, yeah, come on in. And, because everybody knew this was going to be, and jobs just started picking up immediately. My phone in my office started ringing right away in that month of November. And December is generally a slow month because it's Christmas time. People are spending money on Christmas. But that November, December were great for me, November, December of 2016. So, I mean, it was, it was just the right guy at the right time. Oh, wait, and see, it looks like DM is taking off, so.
Oh, good night, DM. I gotta watch their show when I got it on my watch list.
Yeah, no, I gotta check it out because everybody says good things about it, so I definitely gotta check it out.
Oh yeah,
sure.
yeah.
without a doubt.
You know, it's interesting, Carl. I'd like to know. I don't know if the Obamas have any deep ties to China, like say Feinstein or Pelosi. You know, I don't. I think. I mean, because
Well,
Obama was more of a Soros.
yeah. Well, considering how the Chinese treated Obama, making him get off the back of the plane, not bringing up the
Hmm.
stair ramp to let him walk out the front of his plane, the side of his plane.
Hmm.
I don't think he has any interest in China, my guess, because they treated
Yeah.
him like shit, totally disrespected him.
Yeah.
I mean, when they said we're not bringing the stairwell up for you to get out the plane, like a normal person would,
Hmm.
you have to walk out the back
Hmm.
door. He should have just turned to the captain and said, "Take off, get us the fuck out of here." I'm not going to see you let these people humiliate us. He just left. He should have just left. Okay, bye. You know, because
Hmm.
so I don't think he has any ties to in there with the Chinese. I would doubt it
I
highly.
think Obama. I think Obama anymore just kind of wants to stay out of the limelight. I mean, he's been. I mean, I don't read his tweets, but he hasn't really been doing much of anything lately. I think he's just trying to, you know, maybe he's like wised up and said, look, I was a failed president. You know, I did stuff that, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he probably has no regrets of what he was
Oh
doing.
no, he
But
was all no, he was everything he did. He got the outcomes he wanted. Okay, so
yeah.
in his mind, he didn't fail. He just didn't have enough time to finish the job. No, the outcomes. I mean, as
Hmm.
far as reducing GDP annual growth, I mean, his last year in office, it was 1.5% annual GDP growth. The year before was 2.2%, so it was going down, which he wanted. Okay, he was
Hmm.
doing that trade deal with TPP was going to cost us hundreds of thousands of jobs. Yeah, his thing was like, oh, we'll stick it to China by handing American jobs off to Southeast Asia instead of to China. Well, who gives a shit where they go? It's like we're going to stick it to China by, instead of jobs going to China, we're going to send the jobs to Southeast Asia. That was his master plan. Him and Ben Rhodes and Samantha Powers and Susan Rice. They came up with that gem, okay, which was stupid. All right, so his job was to depress this country and to build up the rest of the world at our expense. He always thought of it as a zero sum game. He knew the rest of the world could never come all the way up to our level. So in order for the rest of the world to come
Yeah.
up to the same level we were at, we'd have to come down and then bring the rest of the world up, and
Yeah.
we'd meet in the middle, and we'd all live in shit. Okay, that was his
Yeah.
master plan. He just didn't have time to finish it. So, but no, I
Right.
don't think he doesn't think he's failed at all. He just didn't think he had
Yeah.
enough time, and he figured if Hillary got in, then she would continue on with his policies, not because she believed in him, but because she could make money
Hmm.
on it. That's why. That's
Yeah.
the only, and he knew she could be bought. Okay, and he would
Yeah.
make sure the right
H.A.
people gave her
Goodman.
the right money.
Mhm. H.A. Goodman still thinks she's going to run, and I'm like, she is up there just like Joe Biden is. I mean, she look, you saw that video where she was walking down the stairs and she almost fell. There was some, oh God, what was it? There was another video I think of her where she was like stuttering in her speech or something. But she's not going to run again. I mean, I don't see her doing it.
Well,
I
I,
mean,
I, I don't see a reason for her not to do it because if
hmm.
if the whole reason for being in a public office was to make money, and if she
Hmm.
runs and there's somebody out there who thinks she has a chance, well then they'll start donating
Hmm.
money to that Clinton Foundation again. See what I'm saying? I mean, I
Hmm.
mean, once when she lost that bid for the White House, all that money dried up. People just stopped
Yeah.
donating because they were only donating as a pay to play, giving her foundation millions of dollars, because hundreds of millions of dollars actually, which her and her
Hmm.
husband and her daughter were siphoning off, through administrative fees, which were like 70% of the money that came in went to administrative fees, which was like their salaries. Okay, so if she run, why not run? And if she looks like she might have a chance, and people might start giving hundreds of millions of dollars over to that phony baloney foundation, and they can start making some more money on it. So why not? I mean, she went around and
Hmm.
did that stupid book tour, and then then tried doing those stupid events with her husband. I mean, she's like, I don't know, like she's doing like stand-up comedy next. I mean, she'll do whatever it takes for
Hmm.
money. She's just a money-hungry person. Her and her whole family are like
But
that.
let's say if she did decide to run again, she would probably come in like say whoever won the primary. Like, I mean, let's say for example, because it is possible she can run. What she would probably do is say this is just my guess. Like, let's say Biden wins the primary, right? Well, they could probably have something staged where Biden makes a public announcement he's going to hand his primary off to Hillary, which we all know that that's not legal, but let's face it, when does the DNC do anything legal? You know, and he hands the primary off to Hillary, right? And she's already got her VP and everything, right? Well, is she going to try and run on the same failed policies that she lost in 2016? I mean,
Yeah, why not?
you know what it is.
Why did she have to? She won't have to write any new speeches that way. Just,
Yeah,
no. Look.
yeah.
Okay, look.
But,
I disagree. Okay, I watch H.A. Goodman too all the time. I watch the regular channel, the other channel. I'll watch him all the time. I agree. I disagree with him. I don't think she's going to run. Some reason I don't know why he thinks she is, but I mean, I watch his explanation for it all the time. He says there's no way Biden's going to make it to the end, and none of these other clowns are got to have a chance. And the Democratic Party is all about the Clintons, and it's their money, and blah blah blah. I mean, they are having a hard time raising money right now. They're being outraised. I mean, that was brought up by the chairman, whatever. I always forget his name, former Secretary of Labor. I don't know why I forget his name. Maybe I do it on purpose. But anyway, he was talking about how they're having a hard time fundraising money. They are so much in debt right now compared to the RNC, and they're in big debt. The RNC is totally not in debt and totally cash happy, and the Democrats are not.
Yeah. Well, Soros is. We all know that Soros and his cabal, they're just kind of waiting to see who wins the primaries. Because I'm almost willing. I'm willing to bet that whoever wins that primary, that's when Soros and the cabal are going to start flooding that. Whoever won the primary, they're going to start flooding them with cash, and they're going to bail the DNC out. They're going to take care of all of their legal fees. They're going to prop up ads. They're going to pump out ads as quickly as possible. We all know Facebook and Google are going to help them getting those ads out there. Why so and so is better than Trump and yada yada. They're just biding their time right now. I mean, the fact that the DNC is broke, I think it's a tactic on these globalists to try and get people to get relaxed. Oh, Trump's got this, and that's where we cannot make our mistake. We cannot fall for it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It's just it's anybody's guess at this point in time. But I'm still willing to bet that Soros and them, they're just waiting to see who's going to win and what's going to be, and they're going to come to the DNC's rescue at the last minute, just like that at clockwork.
Well, I mean, somebody's going to have to rescue him because, I mean, Steyer's spending, it can't be Steyer. He's spending his own money right now, though he's a little pissed off that he didn't make that last debate. And it's funny because he figured with all the money he's given in the past that they would cut him a break, but they would have had to cut him a break. They would have had to, as you were talking about earlier, full circle. They would have had to cut Tulsi Gabbard a break too, and they weren't willing to do that. They didn't want her on the debate stage, but to put him on it, they would have had to let her on it too, and they weren't willing to go that far. So,
no. I wonder. I wouldn't be surprised if Tulsi's base voted for Trump because her base is not happy with what they did to her, and they just may vote Trump out of anger.
They're probably her supporters. Well, albeit I don't know how many she has. I don't think it's a lot. Okay, and I mean her supporters in the Democratic Party is what I'm trying to say. They're probably closer to Trump than they are to the people on the far left that are up there on the stage right now. I guarantee you that, except for gun control. But for them, they can probably throw that issue away. I mean, when they really have to look hard at it, and they're going to say, okay, should I vote for socialism or should I vote for free market economy? And they'll figure gun control. Well, the Senate, the House, they'll never get their act together anyway. They're already talking. I saw in the news this morning. They're already saying that. I was on, I think, MSNBC or CNN. They were saying that, gun control is pretty much dying on the vine right now. Nobody's really got an appetite for it. Nobody's going to be jumping all over it. So probably her voters, if they had to go somewhere, they would probably come over to Trump before they would go back to like Sanders or Warren or any of those other clowns up there.
Yeah, because they're more of a moderate base than they're more of like the corporate Democrat voters basically.
Right.
And but it's Carl. We're in for some interesting times. We are. I mean, I don't think we've seen anything yet. I mean, it's. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say where things are going to be and go. And I mean, you listen to some of these conspiracy theorists who talk about, well, these globalists are going to plan an EMP attack, or these globalists are going to, that these globalists have these, you know, weapons in space, and they're going to do this and that. And I'm like, you know, I don't. I mean, who knows? Who really knows? I mean, I'm not trying to peddle conspiracy theories, but stop and think about it. I don't think anybody was prepared for anything like this. I mean, even people who studied and like Disabled Vet, who's obviously been following what's been going on for years. Um, the R-rated conservative, even Derek Grayson. I mean, maybe Derek Grayson probably, but I don't think anybody really even had an inkling as to how bad this was. Like all these companies that are so anti-American, and so many groups that just hate this country because they don't like, you know, that we're a constitutional republic, that we, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, it's like the Twilight Zone. It's like we're living in an episode of the Twilight Zone. I mean, it's like today. One of my buddy who's progressive as can be. He asked me. I mean, we have good conversation. He's a great guy. He's really book smart. But he asked me, you know, how come, did I feel uncomfortable with Gillum not winning? And I said, no, because Gillum didn't have policies that I liked. And then I turned around and asked him, what about Mia Love of Utah? She didn't win. Were you uncomfortable with her being elected? He had nothing to say. He had nothing to say yeah, because when you throw their ideology back at them, they have no base to back it up, because you can find, it's like this thing with Mark Robinson. He's running for North Carolina. I know I mentioned it before, but he's running for North Carolina office. I think it's district attorney or something like that. But he is running. He is running for office in North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
And I asked him too. I go, if Mark Robinson does not win in North Carolina, does that mean that you were uncomfortable with a conservative African American getting elected to office? And again, he had nothing to say. In the ideologies, again, we all know how backwards it is.
Right. Well, no, it doesn't make any sense that they it does make sense from when you look at these people, they're not open-minded. I mean, they have no open mind.
No.
They just close everything up. I mean, we're at least open-minded. It's like, well, let's take a look at that person. We'll at least look at them. We may say, oh, again, I don't want to do that, but we'll at least look at what they have to say. I mean, yeah, I had to watch 3 hours of that debate the other night, but I probably, if I didn't have to, I probably would have watched the first hour just to see what they were saying, just to know what's going on, what the positions are, if they're saying anything halfway intelligent. I didn't, and I really didn't hear anything intelligent coming out of anybody's mouth except, Biden was challenging them on how much their Medicare for All was going to cost. He brought up some good numbers. He said it kind of like sarcastically. He goes, yeah, I have this Medicare plan also. It's really expensive. It costs $740 billion, but it doesn't cost $30 trillion. And he was talking about, he goes, look, they're talking about $3.4 trillion per year. He goes, that's twice the federal budget right now. He goes, where are they going to get the money from? Bernie's at least honest that he's going to increase tax in the middle class. He goes, but that only gets you halfway there. Then he points to his colleague, couldn't remember her name, Warren, and he goes, she doesn't even tell you how she's going to pay for hers. She goes, this is absurd. The American people can't buy into that. So, I mean, he was at least, challenging him on the numbers and saying, like, you kind of people living like pie in the sky. And, you just can't keep promising people stuff. And Warren's answer was so, I don't know, unintelligent is the best word I can come up with. The last debate, when she turned to that one congressman saying, well, if you're not going to think big, I can't believe, why would you come up here and just tell us what we can't do? Why would you not think about trying to do, other stuff? Well, how about trying to do stuff that's reasonable? why don't you try that with the American people? The American people, you tell the people this stupid crap, and you say, gee, how come they didn't vote for us? Well, because you promised them stuff you can't deliver on. If you don't, I mean, the Republicans have the Republican Party with all the money they're getting, the RNC. Let me tell you something. They haven't begun to fight yet as far as the television commercials. But when they're one of those idiots on that stage gets the nomination, or it looks like she's going to get, or he's going to get the nomination, man, here come the ads. I mean, and you don't. They don't have to be fake news ads. You just take what they said. You just, I mean, put up BETO up there. Say here's the Democratic Party. Here's Warren saying $3.5 trillion. Here's a budget number for the year, like 1.75 trillion. And here's what she wants to spend. Where they get the money from? Guess what? You got to raise your taxes. And they'll put up some, some nice, intelligent ads too. And they'll have people doing 15-minute spots, 10-minute spots, 5-minute spots. They got the money to do it, and Trump's got the money to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they got cash coming in like it's going out of style right now. They're raising more money than probably anybody in the history of. Hillary had what, 1.4 trillion. 1.4 billion.
So,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
1.4 billion. Billion. She had 1.4 billion last time. He's probably on a track to get at least over $1 billion right now. And they'll spend it intelligently too.
What's interesting too is they might even use Tulsi. Because like Tulsi Gabbard came out not too long ago and said that open borders was a bad idea, and I'll bet you anything the RNC is going to use that in one of their campaign ads to smear whoever wins the Democratic primary. Like they could probably do something like, well, even their side's admitting that open borders is a bad idea, and then hopefully they make a good, if they do go that route with the commercial against Tulsi, with Tulsi Gabbard saying that, hopefully they bring up the point, like when they say, well, we decriminalized border crossings, that's fancy talk for open borders. I mean, they're going to use, hopefully the RNC is going to, get aggressive with campaign ads. And I really hope the NRA gets their stuff together and starts running campaigns of their ads of their own, because
they better get together fast. I know they're kind of all messed up over there.
Well, their political action committee is really good. The political action committee of the NRA is really good. The problem that I think most people have with the NRA is that they're not aggressive at fighting for our gun rights. But I don't follow any of the cases the NRA is involved in, so I can't really speak on that. But I do know that the political action committee of the NRA, which is the ILA, they're very active. They're very good, and I think that's where a vast majority of I won't say vast, but I think that's where a good portion of the donations come from the NRA to the NRA's, the political action committees. But Gun Owners of America is a 501c3, but I don't know. I think that 501c3, they can't really, donate money to any political candidates, but they do run report cards on where, certain politicians stance on, like they have the report card, like, if they're outstanding in A, it's based on a school, like on a report card schooling a schooling system. The system that the school uses to put out report cards, I believe, is a similar system they use. But they're getting bigger, but I don't know if they're going to ever get into I don't know if they're going to have a branch like the ILA of the NRA does, but when you stop and think about it, 100 million gun owners, so they claim, and only 2-3 million members to these organizations. That's not much.
Well, no, not everybody
much at all.
Well, no, not everybody joins though. I mean, I'm not a current member of the NRA. I was a member when I was a kid, but I'm not a member now. I don't know. It's just I don't know. But it's just, I've always been leery for some reason of actually, like I said, I was there in the 90s and I watched the NRA. And my folks, owned a gun store, and I watched the NRA sell them out, the small gun store owner, in favor of the larger, franchises and stuff like that. I watched them sell them out with the Clinton administration. So no, I wasn't real happy with them, I guess.
Because I would think the Smith and Wesson family, or the family that made the Smith and Wesson rifles and the Winchesters, they got to be heavy conservative. But I don't know if any. Are any of the Winchesters still alive? Or any? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. I have no idea.
But
I know an original family. I know an original family member of who's In-N-Out Burgers is running the company right now.
mhm,
That's a
yeah,
cool story. Yeah, I like In-N-Out Burger. Sorry, but yeah, but I don't know if any I don't know if any members of the original Winchester family are still alive or still are running the company or not. My guess is probably
mhm,
not. Because you know they probably sold their interest or whatever, so left the board of directors. Who knows? Who knows what? You know,
mhm,
generate. It's very hard to maintain those family-run organizations for more than like one or two generations. That's why like the In-N-Out Burger story is so fascinating. It's one of the few companies that as it went down the line, there was only one time when they actually picked somebody to run it who was not a family member, and he had the same
mhm,
opinion as the family. He was like totally bought into it, probably ate In-N-Out Burger all
mhm,
the time. And then just recently, I think one of there was like a descendant of the original founders, like a granddaughter or a great granddaughter or somebody. She's now running it, and she's totally on board with the concept. Like
mhm,
they shut down all their restaurants in Texas for 48 hours because they went down there and they found the bread didn't meet their quality because you know In-N-Out Burger you never ate there because you're on the East Coast, but everything about
mhm,
their sandwich is fantastic, including the bread. And they went down there, they didn't like the bread. They made all the
mhm.
stores shut, all their franchises shut down for 2 days until they got new bread orders and put in new procedures to making sure like they weren't serving bread that was stale or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's my
Mhm.
little thing on In-N-Out Burger. I'm a big In-N-Out Burger fan, as you can tell.
Yeah. Oh,
But
Carl, real quick, if it's okay, I was going to mention one last thing about the Biden's thing, but if we don't have time, that's cool. If you just wanted,
no, go ahead. Go ahead about Biden. Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
um, I was the one other thing I was going to say about too about he's got a plan where he's going to give Americans the option, right, to buy health care, government run type, government subsidized health care, right, or now if you stop and think about it, something like that, if they hire a private company to take care of that end for them, you know, my question to Biden would be how many illegal immigrants are going to be mooching off of this, and I say it mooching
No, that's a
off
good
of
word.
this,
That's a good word.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, off of this plan because let's say if I make an annual income of like 90,000, right? Is the government going to set my deductible at a $1,500? And they're just going to assume that I can pay that out of pocket because I make $90,000 a year, how much, how many other bills, how many other deductibles am I going to have too? Am I going to have one? Am I going to have two? I mean, am I going to be able to have some kind of a payment plan where I can pay on it, or is it going to be demanded up front? See, these are the questions that people who vote for these candidates need to ask. They need to, it isn't just free, free, free. It's, you got to find out what your premiums are, what your deductibles are. I mean,
Right.
you could wind up having higher premiums and a higher deductible.
Yeah. Well,
Especially
that.
if they.
Look,
Uh,
anytime the government runs anything, okay. Like here's the
mhm,
thing. Now, Buttigieg put some pushback on this as well, because he told Sanders he goes yeah, you wrote the bill, but you know your bill doesn't trust the American people to make the choice. You make the choice for them. You say you have to have this, and that's the way it is. You know, instead of giving American people a choice, hey, do you want it? Do you want to buy into a government-run system, or do you want to keep your current health insurance provider? Because they say, oh, nobody likes their health insurance. Well, bullshit. The unions love their health insurance packages. Trust me, they are great packages. That's why the firemen's union just gave Biden the endorsement because he's like,
yeah,
they at least get to make the choice. They get to keep their health insurance plan that they have them. Because they say that it was
yeah,
100. See, Biden said 160 million, but I think the actual number is 147 million people are currently covered by, employer-based health insurance. They have it right now through their employer, and say, well,
yeah,
they don't like it. Okay. You don't like dealing with the insurance person in the cubicle that you're on the phone with, okay? And the doctor has to go get permission from the insurance company for a procedure. Well, it's going to be the same shit with the government. Instead of talking to a private-owned company where you have an employee who could get fired for being an idiot, you're going to have a government-run
mhm,
healthcare program worked by civil servants who really don't give a shit about anybody that can't be fired. That can sit there, can screw up as much as they want, be rude anybody's business and get a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, it's still gonna be somebody sitting in a cubicle, whether it's the government doing it. Oh, the insurance companies won't get between you and your doctor. Well, no, you can tell you're gonna have a government bureaucracy getting between you and your doctor, unless their plan just says anytime a doctor makes a request for payment that it's automatic. Now nobody's plan says that because it would bankrupt the whole country. So bullshit. It's gonna be somebody sitting in a cubicle, either saying you're clear to do this procedure or you're not clear to do it. It's not just going to be automatic. Yeah. It's like in England and Canada. Doctor says you need this procedure, then they got to write back to the government to get approval for it. And the government can say, well, no, we're not going to approve it, or you can wait a few months until there's an operating room available, for them to be able to go in with the staff and everything to get it done. Unless it's something you're going to be dead tomorrow, you got to wait online. So it's the same bullshit. So they think, the government's going to do it better. When has that been a reality? Like that, the government's going to do it better. Said no one never. Okay, no, they can't. So and it's going to cost so much more money, $3.5 trillion.
Yeah.
I mean that's absurd.
Yeah.
Say, well, it costs we spend more money in healthcare than any other country. And Biden goes, well, this is America. He goes, well, Americans don't like paying for it. Really? Well, what they're going to pay for it in their paycheck? Again, I was on this other guy's site, and this guy was from Canada, and saying, well, yeah, it's free, but it comes out of your check. He goes, well, at the end of the day, you pay about 50% of your paycheck to taxes for like free quote unquote free healthcare or whatever. You got to pay for this. For everything else they do. 50% comes out of your check. Boom.
And what these progressives don't realize is that countries like Sweden and Canada are still predominantly capitalist free markets, because without the free markets without the jobs that the free markets provide, you don't get to pay for these social safety programs.
Right.
And that's just social safety programs by themselves. They can't comprehend this. One guy was telling me that Cuba failed to back in the 50s, right, in 60s, when Castro came to power. They tried to create an effective workforce. Well, guess what? Opening Cuba to tourist dollars is only one part of bringing money into the country. If you have to embrace capitalist free markets in order to bring the jobs and create the jobs. Government has no money of its own. I don't know why these progressives don't understand this. It's mind blowing that these progressives think government has money. Print money. Yeah, that's a good way to deflate a currency. China does it all the time. That's a good way to make the money. That's what happened in Greece in 2011. They made way too much money. They printed too much money, and it became worthless. And Greece fell to conditions that were like the 1930s. I mean, they don't teach this stuff in college, Carl. I'm not college educated, and I know this stuff.
Right.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
You know how to read. You know how to read, and you actually do read. Like, there are a lot of people who know how to read that don't read shit. Okay, that's the difference. Okay,
Yeah.
you actually read. You watch the news. You watch these stories, and like a lot of people are low information. They don't read. They just don't.
Yeah.
So.
Son of bin Laden killed him. Oh, wow. I didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
Looks like Rashida Tlaib with a mustache. Sorry. Hey, American Joe, what's up, brother? Hey, American Joe's in there. We got us a celebrity, guys, girls and guys. We got us a celebrity.
American Joe. Hey, Mr. American Joe, how you doing there?
Yeah. Hey, American Joe. He's taking off. His channel is Oh, but you're a genius, dirtbag. Wow, I guess he's been listening. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. But no, see, that's Carl. Just real quick, that's the funny thing about a lot of these trolls, these left wing. Not Joe. I'm just saying some of these left wing trolls that come into my comments and stuff on other videos, right? They think they think that I'm just some kind of random right wing troll, and that's not. If you're going to be a troll, you got to be intelligent about it. You can't just come in and say dumb things. You got to say intelligent things.
Right.
I mean, I just, it's, it's funny because I was on just real quick. I was on a chat one time, and this guy, I thought it was a political channel, but turned out to be something else, right? These guys, was cracking up on my one-liners and everything, and he goes, let's take some trivia. Let's see if the dirtbag is is as intelligent as he is a troll, right? If I was as smart with with things as being a troll, and I got a lot of some of the things of what he was saying right, and I think even he was impressed. And I'm like, well, you got to know how to do something properly. You can't just be out there and be a useful idiot. You can't do that.
Right.
But hey, I throw one-liners out there. One of the things that I like to use against the left is their constant calling of racism. So okay, the left believe it's racist against Spider-Man to make him use a Weber grill,
Right.
and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Just throwing it back at them. Some of these trolls that comment, they get what I'm trying to say. That's why they comment. That's why they, it gets their attention. Especially when you got somebody like you. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
You still there?
Go on like that.
No,
Yeah, I'm still here.
I look like you broke. You look like you broke up for a second. Yeah.
Let me try another headset.
All right.
I came prepared tonight, Carl.
All right. Good deal, man.
See if this,
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if this other headset works better. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. Good now. Perfect, man.
Okay, hold on. Let me put this one on. Uh-oh, hold on. I had to buy these. I've got to invest in a good set of headphones. It's Oh, sorry. I'm coming, Joe. I'm coming. I feel Joe's a great guy. He's Joe's. One thing I got to say about American Joe, he's good at what he does. His videos are spot on. He's
No,
he nails it.
He has good content. He has good content.
Yes, yes, yes. And
for sure.
He's God. He's helped me promote so many small channels. It's awesome. And that's one of the things I like about Joe.
Well, that's what it's about. I mean, we all start off small at one point, and you just got to keep working it. And like I tell people, don't be afraid to go local. Don't just count on somebody from 500 miles away or 1,000 miles away. Go local if you can. I got an event I'm going to be doing here in October. Also, we're doing a live event. Looks like I'll be getting signed up for that this week. It's going to be another 2-day. I think actually it's a 3-day event actually. So I'll be out there in the field for 3 days. 2 10x10 canopy setups. 3 computer setup, the whole thing with the phone calls and everything. So yeah, don't be afraid to go local. I mean, if you live in a jurisdiction where people are going to like attack you, in your canopy, and you get 10,000 people storming you. Well, okay, I can understand it. But if you live in a decent jurisdiction where even it's like 50-50, 50 liberal, 50 conservative, so don't be afraid to go out in the field, advertise in the newspaper and stuff. You get your message out there.
Well, see,
it's always fun.
That's what I do in Parler.
Yeah, I like doing the field events. The field events are, it's a lot of work, the setup and the tear down and bringing everything out to the field. And it's always something goes wrong. Don't get me wrong, but it's fun. You get to interact with it's fun interacting with people on YouTube and stuff over the internet. But it's a lot of fun, really, when you have somebody live sitting right there in front of you doing a live interview with you. And you're talking about different articles and stuff. So that's a lot of fun as well. It's even more fun because you get real people come up. Hey, can I do an interview? It's like, yeah, sit down. You get their mic all lined up. You've seen them when I've done those, and you get to talk to people and stuff. And that's pretty cool. And people come in to see your setup and stuff. So if you can get out and do field stuff, then that's definitely the way to go. I'd argue as well. So definitely if you get out, if you're doing YouTube, like Will Johnson, he goes out in the field a lot. and you can see he enjoys it
Yeah.
also. And it's different getting out of the office, if you will, getting out into the field and actually interact with people face to face. There's something to be said, like
Mhm.
Flecka's talks. I love when he does that. When he goes out to the college
Mhm.
campuses and stuff. I just watched
Mhm.
his show he did on. He was at Cal State University, L.A., and he was talking to people. He
Mhm.
had a sign up that saying Trump's not that bad. So yeah, get out in the field. It's a lot of fun
Mhm.
for sure.
Mhm. Like just real quick, like on Parlor, when I first got on the Parlor, right, and I started posting one-liners and things like that, they were getting echoed. And sure enough, it was like, it seemed like right now, I've probably gotten more I mean, I'm not getting notifications on my Parlor app. Gee, I wonder why, because it's Google. But um, the funny thing, yeah. But the funny thing is that I grew fast on Parlor. I grew real fast on Parlor. See, Twitter, I probably would have grown fast, but Twitter would have put me in Twitter jail. See, that's one of the reasons why I never went into Twitter. I was looking for a Parlor so I can do what I'm doing, and not be hampered. But I also put out content as well. Like I put out, there was one thing I wrote, got over 80 echoes, was like, if you see somebody in Parlor coming on and they're just starting off, promote them. Just echo something they post. You don't have to echo something they echoed, but echo something they post. Put them on the map. Get them out there.
Right.
And I always stress that every time I echo somebody's stuff, because I've had people with large platforms promote me on their sites, and you know I had one guy I think wanted a few one-liners, in exchange for promoting him. Hey, okay, I don't mind. You did this for me, I'll do this for you. This is how we have to grow. And since I've got a following now on Parlor, I'm probably on the radar if Parlor ever gets sold to some. I mean, hopefully they don't, but if they ever do get sold to some kind of left-leaning company like Twitter or something like that, I'm definitely on that radar to be kicked off. I'm probably the fact that I'm not even getting notifications anymore and I haven't even been on this platform kind of goes to show you that, they don't like what I post. Well, guess what? It's a free platform and they can have what they want on there, just like Twitter can have what they want. You know, when I brought awareness to Mark Robinson's campaign, him running, it got over like 200, I think it was like 270 some echoes. It's that effect, and people see it, people share it, and hopefully, hope and praying that people in North Carolina are seeing it and they're starting to, bring awareness. It's like the Young Americans Against Socialism. I've been promoting them on my wall, and I've had some echoes.
Right.
There's like some people that literally wait for me to post something before they can echo, but but that's what we got to do. We got to promote these organizations that are fighting back. Support them. Make sure they, if you can donate a couple of dollars, do it. I mean, it's an investment for our country. You know, but
Right.
Carl, if it wasn't for you, Carl, I would not be doing what I'm doing. Like, I remember the first. I'll make this quick. I'm sorry. If it's okay, or I can tell after the show.
No, 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 no. I tell you what.
Oh.
Let's cover this story.
Mhm.
Arena was asking if anybody saw the Democratic what Booker is talking about
Oh.
his plan on guns. So I just pulled up the story for her. So let's take a look here. Let me pull it up here real quick. I got it up on the screen right now. We'll scroll through it real quick. Okay, so Booker just talked about gun violence. Here's his plan on guns. All right, so here's 5 things Booker has proposed to deal with gun violence. 1, licensing. 2, if you need a license to drive a car, you should need a license to buy and possess a gun. Booker said Wednesday, albeit you don't have a constitutional right to drive a car or drive a horse and buggy or to ride a horse. It's not a constitutional right. Would-be gun owners would have to pass a firearm safety training course, undergo a criminal background check, and provide fingerprints. The license would be valid for 5 years, after which time the applicant would have to pass another safety course and another background check. Now, the problem with that is that it's going to be you can see it being very political. So as far as like
Yes.
once a law like that passes, they'll keep changing it where it makes it harder and harder. So at some point, basically, nobody will be able to own a gun. I mean, that's one thing. But 2, the
Yeah.
firearm safety course under criminal background check will be like the no-fly zone. It all depends like what's in there. Did you get a traffic ticket? They don't like you. Who gets enforced on it? Second part of his plan, Booker participated in 2016 Senate filibuster to force votes on legislation requiring background checks for sales at gun shows and over the internet. 3, ban military-style assault weapons. Booker has joined other Senate Democrats, including Menendez, to ban assault weapons. Also proposed banning bump stocks and high-capacity magazines. High-capacity being anything over 10 rounds. That's generally how it works. Taking on the NRA. Well, I don't know what that is. You bring the fight to the NRA. But see, they always use the NRA because they don't want to say take the fight to the American people. The NRA represents the American people. It represents American people's interests. It's not like the NRA is out there by themselves if they had no support. They have a lot of support by people like us, even if we're not members. So it's not just basically they're taking on the American citizens, and then remove legal protections for gun manufacturers. Repealing protection from lawsuits. Republican Congress gave to gun dealers and manufacturers. Measure was supported by U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, who was forced to defend his vote during the 2016 presidential run. So that's funny. Bernie voted in favor of that. Why? Because Bernie's from Vermont. So there you go.
Vermont's
so now,
pretty,
right. Yeah. So I mean, what are you gonna do? Hold on.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting about the whole AR, the assault rifle concept, right? Hitler was the first one. If I could be very wrong on this, but I believe Hitler was the first one who started using, when he wanted to disarm the people of Germany who owned guns. He was basically coining the phrase, using the term assault rifle to describe the kind of guns that German citizens used for hunting, for home defense, and it carried on through history as, throughout our country, like when you see these politicians holding up these guns, they look for the scariest guns they could find, and they, this is an assault rifle, this is what it looks like, and then these progressives, they look at it and they're like, you would think that they would have at least enough common sense to realize that that's a military weapon, not a hunting rifle, or an Armalite rifle. Let's start calling it what it is, because it is an Armalite rifle, the company that makes it. And they it's that mindset, obviously, that they use to bring the fear into people. And look, hey, look, we got to get rid of all AR. Some of these politicians, so you see, if you notice, some of them use the term AR style, like assault style rifles, right? Rather than saying assault rifles, some of them say assault style rifles. Have you ever noticed that?
Right. And so, I mean, you could have a 30-06 with a 10-round box magazine on it, and I guess that makes it an assault rifle at that point. You get a Remington, I think it was Remington, made a semi-automatic, or Winchester made a semi-automatic rifle for 30-06, and you could buy a 10-round magazine for it, and somehow that would make it an assault weapon. Where 30-06 would make it under BETO's definition, everything's an assault weapon, because anything that's designed to kill something and let it bleed to death, like an animal, because the animals and human beings, the bullet's designed for the same thing, basically to put them down. Okay, so I mean, it's a ridiculous argument to make, but they're making it. But I'm glad BETO did open the door and just finally tell us all what they really are planning on doing, which is taking away our guns. That they're basically just trying to do this through 1,000 cuts, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there, and before you know it, they're coming knocking on your door. So, and Beto just spilled the beans and said, yeah, we're going to come knock on your door and take your guns away. And that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah. But think of how many sheriffs would actually enforce that. I mean, let's face it. If you have sheriffs who follow stand down orders when you got Antifa running around, you're going to have sheriffs that will abide by, an order from the higher ups to go door to door, right? But let's think about it. How many sheriffs would actually do that on a national level, right?
What, go door to door and knock on people's doors?
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember the? Wait, hold on. Do you remember the? What was it in Katrina?
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
They all went knocked on the doors. National Guard members, people who lived. National Guard means they live in the state. And a lot of them lived in that community, and they went door to door. Then that one guy who owned that bar, restaurant, or whatever, the supply store downtown, he put bars up and he said, "Don't come in here. I don't want to shoot anybody, but I will." And they were like, "Shit!" And like they went to your house and they had a list of who owned what guns, and they probably had metal detectors and everything else to search the house and to see if you were hiding any. and you had to give them up.
Mhm.
And they came in force. I mean, there wasn't just one guy knocking on the door. It was like they would come like 4 or 5 guys. They said, "Sorry, you have to give up all
Mhm.
your guns." And people are like, "Wait a second, that's crazy." It's like wait, there's looting going on. He goes, "Why are you coming to look?
Mhm.
I own a home. I'm not out. I'm not one of the guys out
Yeah.
looting. Somebody. I'm not going to somebody's." Apartment to loot their apartment. I have a home. I have food. I
Mhm.
have water. I'm not looting anybody. I'm not going to commit any crimes. And they didn't care. And they said no. They said,
Mhm.
well, if you don't give them up, we're going to arrest you and come get your guns anyway. And they went door to
Mhm.
door, and they did it. And
Yeah.
these were local cops. Local cops. They had no
Mhm.
problem doing it. What are they going to do? Give up their pension and say we're not going to do it? Of course not. National
Yeah.
Guard members.
Yeah.
They went door. They were right there carrying their M16s, whatever.
Mhm.
Full gear, knocking on people's doors,
Mhm.
kicking doors down if they had to. If nobody answered the door, whether they're home or not, they figured they were probably home. They wouldn't answer the door. They'd knock the doors down. Literally knock the doors down
Mhm.
and went in
Yeah.
to see if anybody was in there hiding the
Yeah.
guns. Yeah, they'll do
Mhm.
it. Nope. Yeah. I mean, there might be a few agencies
Yeah.
that won't, but they'll bring the National
Mhm.
Guard or the U.S. Army, whoever else, and they'll find somebody to do it.
Mhm. And see,
It, it will.
that's where Mhm. Oh no, go ahead.
No, no. That's it. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and see, and that's where back when 2016, and I know I talk about this a lot, but it's still an important thing that has to be acknowledged and known, or not known, but I mean people know it because it was, people saw the shift where the country was going 2 years ago, and I guarantee you those people who that were rising up and there were militia groups were popping up. Those groups are still out there and they're watching what's going on. I mean, they're not hiding. They're probably just, going, about their business day to day, taking care of their families as best they can. But, you know, it kind of begs the question. And even though I respect our military, I do, but let's face it, you are going to have, let's just say hypothetically, if a situation like this happened, you will have soldiers who will say, hey, look, I'm just following orders, and they will come and, you know, fire upon civilians. I
Yeah.
mean, I
No, back
respect.
no back in
I
the
res-
'90s.
mm-hmm,
Back in the '90s, a friend of mine was in the Marine Corps, and he was down at
mm-hmm,
Camp Pendleton, and uh,
mm-hmm,
and they went around asking people, this was during the Clinton administration, okay, if we give you the
mm-hmm,
order that you'd have to fire on Americans, if it was like an insurrection or something, would you do it? And anybody who
mm-hmm.
said no got discharged from the military. They were gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
they asked them because they said you took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So they said if we had to go in and put down, civil unrest, like Americans, insurrection kind of situation, kind of like a revolution thing, would you be willing to fire on Americans? And he goes, most everybody there said yes, and the guys that didn't say yes, they were booted. They're booted right out.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like somebody gave a number one time. What was it? The 74% would not do it, right? But I'd say that number, like, it's a silly comparison, but it emphasizes the point that I'm trying. If you ever watch Captain America: Winter Soldier, right?
No.
Back when Captain America exposed what Hydra was doing, right?
I never okay.
Look how.
I never watched any of that stuff. Only Marvel
Oh, okay.
comics. Only Marvel comics I watched was Wonder Woman for
Mhm.
obvious reasons because that chick is hot, and I watched the Batman
Mhm.
Superman one with Wonder Woman,
Mhm.
and that was actually a good
Mhm.
story. I actually enjoyed the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
That was a really good
Mhm.
story. Yeah, I mean that is good stuff.
Yes.
But
It was a
that
great
was
film. Oh
Chris.
yeah.
Let's see, who was in there? It was Damn. Oh, that's the one with Ben Affleck, of all people. Go figure.
Yeah.
He actually did a really
Mhm.
good job. But yeah, that was.
But. Mhm.
I watched that. That was a good movie. But
Mhm.
those are the only two movies I watched from Marvel
Mhm.
Comics: Wonder Woman and the Superman
Yeah.
Batman thing. Yeah, with Wonder Woman in
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
But but the whole thing about it was like after Captain America exposed, right? They had the whole like everyone in the base was there was a quick big divide right there, right? Like you had people who sided with Captain America, then you had people who sided with the Hydra, right? So it's like if the number 74 or that was the number that was thrown, right? I think it would be more like maybe 60% of the army would do it, and 40% would not. I mean, maybe that's just a wild number. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
because the situation has not happened. So it's really hard to say how we do it when you're presented with the situation, like all those guys who said yes that they would do it. Maybe they just said yes to stay in the military because they saw what was happening to the people who said no. I mean, you really can't. It's really hard to tell until the situation actually arises. I mean, it's just hopefully it never comes to that. God forbid. But you know, because like I've heard people say like like some of these like my buddy again, we talked about stuff like this, and he says, well, I don't know what these people, these militia groups would do if they just started doing drone strikes against civilians. And I go, okay, well, you know what? That would probably send a pretty bad message. And number two, I think these militia groups train for stuff like this. I mean, their tactics, these people like the 3%ers and the people that meet together to train on their private lot or wherever, they update their tactics every time they go to train. I mean, they have to adapt because they have to know, like, these groups have to know what tactics and what weapons the military has. So they have to use what's in their arsenal to counter whatever tactics they may have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know I'm getting off a little subject here, but
That's okay.
they just don't understand that these militia groups train for stuff like this. Some of these militia groups might even have weapons they're not supposed to have. I mean, it's entirely possible.
Right.
It's
Oh no, no,
very possible.
you're looking at the chat right now. It's pretty funny.
Hmm.
Are you looking at the chat right now?
Yeah,
No, 'cause they're
yeah.
saying like they said
Everybody.
both of the movies weren't Marvel. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm not a nerd. I didn't know that. So, right.
uh,
That's pretty good. But
everybody,
anyway,
get over to American Joe's show.
no, go ahead,
Yeah.
finish up because
No, I was just giving Joe a shout out.
yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah.
Mhm.
Go for it. Yeah.
Everybody, join American Joe's show. Just get over there and become a member of his channel. Can't say certain words, but you guys know what I mean when I say become a member of his channel. But what were we gonna say, Carl? I'm sorry.
No, that was it. I was just no, I thought no, go. Yeah, I was wanting just to finish up the shout out, but yeah, I'm just pretty much going to end the live stream for tonight. I've been on for 2 hours, so I'm going to end the live stream for tonight. I just want to thank everybody who's been in the chat room. I want to thank you, Mr. Great Dirtbag, for the wonderful
Always a pleasure to come on,
live
Carl. Always
live
a pleasure
video.
to come on.
Yeah, the live video phone call, totally cool. Great topics tonight. Great discussion tonight. Great discussion in the chat room tonight as well. Excellent. So here, let me clean us up a little bit here, and then we'll get ready to book out of here. Let's see.
Carl, it'd be cool to see you on Joe's channel sometime.
No,
I think that'd be really good.
Yeah, we talked about that. And he called in when I was in Wilmington, Delaware, when I was out there for that New Jersey that event in Pittman, New Jersey, that Antifa was supposed to show up at, but never did, and they ended up holding it in Philadelphia. But he called in that Saturday night. We had a good call-in show that night. That was good. And we talked about that. His schedule and my schedule are totally screwed up. I mean, we're just like Have you noticed like him and I are never on live at the same time because his schedule is totally different than my schedule. It just is. We're just always in the wrong place. We're in the right place at the right time for each other respectively. We're just always in different places at different times. So yeah. But no, that'd be really cool. I was wanting to get on to Tony Patriot's show also. But the same thing with him. We're always, have you noticed, him and I are never live at the same time. Why? Because I'm coming on live when I can come on live. He's coming on live when he can come on live, and it's generally not like he's been on the panel show a couple of times, but it was kind of hard on him because of his work schedule. I mean, it was kind of late for him both times he came on. One day I did an early one. I think he came on that, but for the most part, it's kind of hard. But
well, your show's. I mean, it's perfect for me to come on. Because of my schedule and everything. It's very easy for me to come on to your show, and do, because I know Tony's asked me a few times. I feel bad. I just haven't had the time, and something I hope to do sometime soon. But just finding the time, and I know he works a lot too, and everybody's busy. We gotta, but we still gotta find that time to get the message out there. I mean, Carl, I remember when I was on your show and I blacked out my camera because I was afraid, but I'm like, you know what, everybody else is doing it, so why shouldn't I do it? You know what I mean? I need to do it. you know.
And I'm glad,
So
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. Oh, I wanted to ask you though, before we cut off for the night, how did that
mhm.
ever work out? The Republican Party with you contacting people to help out and stuff. Did that ever anything come to
it
fruition on
it
that?
was it was it was interesting. It was funny because when I called the first time, the guy said, "Well, we don't do that. We don't drive people to the polls. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry, I've wasted your time. Because I didn't like my response. It's like he didn't want to, it's like he mocked me a little bit. Maybe he didn't, but I took it as mocking, right? And I'm like, this is why you people aren't getting anywhere really. But on a positive side, I went down to the meeting and I was the only independent there. And I mean, I was able to, ask some questions. I had some talk. They were talking about, how, like how they support all Republicans, even if it's Republicans people don't like, but they're there to help give them a voice, and I can understand that. I can see that.
Right.
But they seem to support Trump. They seem to be about business. They were giving people advice on how to run a campaign, if people ever decide, but they seem like they do get people. One lady I talked to, I think she was a lawyer for the I believe she was a city official, or maybe she was a lawyer for that group. I don't know 100%, but she told me about, I asked her, look, how can I get involved to help get people to the polls? I mean, I'm looking to spend vacation time to do this. And she was saying, like, we need, anybody that's willing to do it, we need them. And I said, look, I'm not even going to charge gas money, just we need to get people to vote. And
Right.
they seemed to genuinely, they seemed like they would welcome my help, but I think they wanted me to become a Republican. But if that's what it takes, then I gotta do what I gotta do.
Right. Right.
I mean, how many of us can really stay independent? I mean, even if I'm a Republican, it doesn't change how I view anything. You know,
Right.
I don't like the group thing, but I can be affiliated with a Republican Party and still hold all the values that I have. You know,
Right.
and if that's what it takes, that's what I'm going to do. I got to make time to do that. So I'm hoping to attend their meeting this week. Um, or not this week. I'm sorry, this month. But depending on my schedule, I don't know if I'll be able to get down there or not. But I'm definitely
Yeah.
going to try and get down there again, and I'll definitely give everybody updates on what's going on and stuff. Because people, it starts at a local level, and we have got to get involved. You can't. We cannot have this fear of you know of being whatever. We gotta get out there, because I got news for you. If the progressive wing of the Democrats ever get hold, believe me, they're it's not gonna be anything like Roundup or anything, but they will pass laws telling people they need to take some kind of sensitivity training, or and people saying like, well, this isn't legal. Well, guess what? If they elect people that in office, they make it legal. That's the key
Right.
word. They make it
Yeah,
legal.
the Supreme Court only kicks in if it's unconstitutional. But if like a sensitivity training class, to say if you want a government contract, you have to have all your people go through a sensitivity training class. Is that an unfair infringement
Yep.
upon business? Supreme Court would probably say no. So there's a lot of laws that you can say, well, that'd be unconstitutional. Supreme Court strike it down. Not necessarily. A lot of laws you can pass that would not necessarily be unconstitutional if
Yeah.
if the legislative branch and the executive passed it, the Supreme Court would show a lot of deference to that, saying, well, they passed it, and you have recourse. Vote for somebody else. So your recourse is to don't have to worry about voting somebody out. It's just let's vote the right guy back in again, and vote our congressmen and Republicans back in. Try to take some more seats in the House. Try to win the House. Definitely keep the Senate. Maybe
Yep.
pick a couple of seats there. But the whole thing is right. Don't get complacent. Hey, I like saying he's going to win, but if you think that means I'm sitting on my hands, I'm not.
Yep.
A lot of content creators on the site right now. A lot of us, we're out there pushing the message and everything. putting a lot of time and effort into it. You know, we're not doing it for our health.
Yep.
We're doing it for the health of the country, not necessarily our own personal
Yep.
health. So it's important. Get
Yep.
involved, like the great dirtbag said. Get involved at the local level. If you know, I guarantee there's a field office somewhere in your neighborhood nearby, within a few, maybe an hour drive at most, for a congressman or a state senator, state assemblyman, you know, a U.S. senator, or even a state Republican Party, local Republican Party. Get involved. Go down there, volunteer.
Yep.
You know, again, Florida. We'll go back to 2000, to year 2000. Florida was won by George W. Bush by 562 votes. That's it, and that determined the entire election for the entire nation. 562. 562. That's like 1/10 of a campaign event. That's like one little
Yep.
fundraiser event with, like, you know, 1,000 people at it. Okay, you convince half of them to
Yep.
vote your way. That's not a lot. So maybe you make the difference. You and like 10 friends make a difference. So that's what it comes down
Yep.
to. So everybody, let's get out. Let's not be complacent. Let's work hard. Let's get President Trump reelected. Let's reelect the Republican congressman we have in office right now. Let's pick up some seats in the House from the Democrats. Let's keep the Senate, and let's pick up some more seats in the Senate. But anyway, hey, Mr.
Yep.
Dirtbag, we'll call it a night for night. Stay with me right there, please. All right, this
Okay.
is Carl's opinion, and this is Carl also. Hey, anyway, I want to thank everybody who's been in the chat tonight. Everybody's been watching us. Everybody watching us later. Again, great shout out to the great Dirtbag, and we'll see you next time on Carl's opinion. All right, guys, take care.